Okay, I think uh, anyone that joins after this will get caught up fairly quickly. I'm just going to make a few introductory comments and turn this over to Gail Marks. But for those of you that I haven't met, I'm Mark Carter. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Aviation, and it's a busy time for us right now with our legislature in session, and of course we're busy along with the KAA and Kentuckians for Better Transportation trying to get additional funding for airports. I think those of you who follow this know that at least so far in one of the House bills, there's a $11.4 million allocation to support grants to airports. And of course, that's made it through one chamber. It has to be approved by the Senate, but that was some initial good news. And we're sort of watching with bated breath to see what else, if anything, is included in the House transportation budget. But with that as a background, just let me just set the stage for this a little bit. I think most of you know that the department has been working with the Kentucky Transportation Center at the University of Kentucky to do an economic study of all of our Kentucky airports, both general aviation airports as well as commercial service airports. And we're doing that study in two phases. The first phase included all of the commercial service airports and a sampling of the general aviation airports, about 12 or so, 12 or 13 GA airports. That study was concluded, or that phase of the study was concluded in the late fall, and we have been using that and sort of using an extrapolation to talk about the economic contribution that our airports make to Kentucky's gross domestic product. And just to give you some idea, Kentucky's GDP is somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 million, and the extrapolated value of Kentucky's airports is about 20. It's between 22.5 billion and $25 billion. So almost 10%, depending on how you measure it, 10% of Kentucky's GDP, and yet airports and aviation get less than 1% of the state's transportation budget. So what we're trying to do with this economic study, and once phase two is completed, is to really basically have a document and an approach that each individual airport can use in your local communities to communicate the value of your airport, as well as a tool that the state associations, the KDA, and other, I guess, statewide or nationwide institutions or entities that have an interest in aviation can also promote what's happening here in Kentucky. And this is critically important. I think yeah, on a KAA board meeting call yesterday, one of the members reported a meeting with Chairman Jason Petrie, who chairs the Appropriations and Revenue Committee in the House, and Chairman Petrie, in a very pointed manner, uh, told this gentleman that we, as a group, of airports and aviation enthusiasts, we need to do a much better job of communicating our value to the taxpayers in Kentucky. And so that makes this study, to me, even more important as we launch into phase two. Um, Phase two is where we pick up the remaining general aviation airports. And if you're on this call, I know some of the folks on the call participated in phase one. Most of you did not. And so this will be your first trip through it. We did learn a few things in phase one, which we're going to incorporate into phase two, and Gail will talk about in more detail. But one of the things we learned is we really we have to have the engagement of the airport. I think there are airports, and I see at least one on this call that would probably tell you that they think the value of their airport is understated in the document. And, the reason for that is just because, in part, it was just the first time we went through it. And so you're going to learn some things when you go through something for the first time. But, I would encourage all of you to really dig into this, work with Gail and her colleagues at the KYTC, talk to us if you have questions at KDA, talk to your local economic development officials, um, folks that, businesses that are in your community that rely on your airport, and there are some for all of you. So really take it seriously, because I think it'll help you, because you'll be able to go to your county judge or your representative or your senator, and you'll be able to say, this isn't just a weekend rich guys club to go flying their toys on the weekend. This is a business entity in our community that adds value, that opens up economic development opportunities for us, and you'll have a tool that will enable you to better make that case. So with that, I'm going to stop with the lecture and turn it over to Gail Marks. Gail is a senior researcher at the University of Kentucky's Kentucky Transportation Center. I won't go through all her quals, but suffice to say, she's highly qualified, leads a great team, and she works very closely with Jared Stanley and others in our transportation cabinet on these types of transportation related projects. So Gail, I'll turn it over to you, and you can introduce any of your team that's on the call as well. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. I do have a colleague that is on the call. She's listening through audio. We've had a little bit of COVID in the office, so staying away at this point. So today I'm going to share a PowerPoint presentation with you to go over the background of this study and the methodology of the data that we're collecting. And then I'm going to move into an online questionnaire that we're going to ask each of you to answer, as well as for you to promote to businesses that are located at your airport, as well as anybody that is traveling through your airport and businesses that are in your community that are supported by your airport. As Mark noted, there were just a couple of airports that in our first phase that thought that their economic contribution was higher than we reported, and we are doing a very conservative estimate for these. But typically in those cases, we really had difficulty getting data from businesses in those areas. On the other hand, we had some airports that had very high participation and were surprised happily so by their results as well. So I'm really calling on all of you, as I believe Mark is as well, to encourage everyone that is coming through your airport and that is supported by your airport to participate. Okay, so now I'm going to switch my screen over to a PowerPoint presentation and go through that with you. So I'm going to start off by saying that we have a large group in our phase 2. We learned a lot from phase 1, and we've tried to streamline this process going forward so it's a little bit easier for you. If at any point you have questions, if you have any concerns, if you have any challenges obtaining the data, getting through the survey, please just reach out to me. I'll have my contact information sent to you as well. The data that we are collecting here, it was a 2023 study, but we're actually using calendar year 2022 data. So now that we're already in 2024, all of that data should be available to you. Okay, so we're going to start with the end in mind. Right now, I'm showing you a screen that is a template for what we are providing to each one of the airports. And I'll give you an example of one of the airports that we switching back and forth here. Well, it's not bringing up right now, I don't believe. Do you still see the presentation?
Yeah, we see the slide that says, let's start with the end in
Okay,
mind.
great. Well, I was trying to bring up one of the airports that we had already collected data from, but this template will work just fine. So what we have here, yes.
I've got Danville up. Do you want me to share that real quick?
Yes.
See here.
I have it up as well. It just wasn't letting me switch screens. So thank you. All right, fantastic. So as you look at the screen that Shelby has shared, you'll see that this is data based on 2022, the name of the airport. So this example is Danville, an address within the map on the top right-hand corner incorporates the location of the airport. So the template that we're providing to you, or the data that you will receive for your airport, are the number of jobs that are supported in the area, the state and local tax revenue that are generated because your airport is supporting businesses in the region, personal income based on employment at jobs that are either supported by their presence physically at the airport or that are businesses that are utilizing your airport in the region. So then we create a total economic output, and I'll go through each one of these in a little bit. We provide you with the population within a 30-minute driving period of your airport. And then we also collect basic information from you on the annual operations and number of based aircraft at your airport. Now, we recognize that we can get that information from FAA, but what we have found is that in many cases, you might actually have more operations that were not reported to FAA, or that the FAA data is a little bit out of date. So we're asking for you to provide that data to us again. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. I'm having all kinds of computer issues and I apologize. Not the time for my computer to lock up.
Don't feel bad, Gail. We had some issues yesterday when we were on Teams meetings with every time someone shared a screen, it locked up for a little bit. So it may be a Teams issue.
I had to restart my computer earlier today. Oh, gosh. I just can't even see the mouse on my screen. I am very, very sorry.
So right now we see your PowerPoint presentation with
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's not in presentation mode, but it is visible. And it's in, you're on the second slide. Let's start with the end in mind.
All right, I've got my monitor back up now. There we go. Thank you all for your patience. I appreciate that. All right. So let me talk to you a little bit about the purpose of, well, the reason why we need your all participation. Mark went through that pretty well. Basically, we're looking for opportunities to market your airports as well as to market airports across the state for what their economic impact is to the state. And there's a lot of legislative implications for that. Okay. We're using a methodology that is outlined by FAA for economic impact studies. And this methodology is used by consultants, universities, and government entities. So the methodology is typically consistent among airport economic impact studies. All right. Based on this, what you can see on the screen, we do not publish individual business data. That was a concern when we were trying to capture data in the first round, where businesses or airport managers were reluctant to provide any information about businesses at their airport or businesses that had people coming in and out of the airport, because they thought that that was proprietary information and were reluctant to share. But what we're providing is estimate, and no individual business information is shared. So today I'm going to go through the different types of economic impact that airports have on the economy. I'm going to share the contribution of values. This is a little bit about how this data is derived, provide some example results, and then present the study questionnaire. Right. First, economic impacts of the airport are made up of two general categories. One is on airport impacts, or these also can be called direct impacts, that are made up of the tenants that are located at the airport, businesses and firms that are at the airport, and then capital and operational expenditures based on employment at the airport as well. Next is indirect impacts or traveler impacts that are the result of visitors that are both business visitors or personal leisure visitors that are coming through the airport and then moving into the region, the community, and spending their money at businesses in the local community. So who are tenants? These are businesses that are on site at the airport. At GA airports, this might be the FBO, air ambulances, flight instruction, vending. At larger GA airports or commercial airports, this might be airlines, car rental companies, food and hospitality, retail, cleaning services, airport security, and then there could be others. So as you can see, there are various business industries located at airports. And so we're hoping to capture all of those industries and every business that is located at the airport. Next, capital and operational expenditures also support businesses at the airport because they bring in various businesses to work at the airport. So for instance, there might need to be a pavement project. So it could bring in construction and engineering firms. Facility maintenance might be on the property. There might be someone doing grounds upkeep, and also information technology firms. So these are not businesses that you would ordinarily think of, oh, these are my tenants on the property, but they are working at the airport. Next are visitors. Again, I mentioned that these could be leisure visitors or business visitors. So what happens is they come into the airport and then go out and spend their money in the community on lodging, food and business, entertainment, tourist attractions, etc. Business travelers help businesses in the region that are not necessarily located physically at the airport. So these are off-airport business travelers. These businesses are able to sell to new markets, grow and expand their companies in a favorable tax climate. They are able to send their employees to training opportunities, right? So one of the things that is a little bit different for our GA airports than commercial airports is actually being able to track the number of visitors that are coming in and out. So the FAA does have a methodology that uses the number of flight operations and tourism data to estimate the number of visitors that are coming into GA airports. So we are using a software package called IMPLAN. It's called Impact Analysis for Planning. It's an input-output model. What that means is we put in the data that we have regarding employment in the area, and then it is capturing data from many, many different national and state databases to capture the economic impact of those businesses and the employment from those businesses. Right? So the model represents the flow of money into the economy given a geographic location. It can be the region, it can be multi-regional, or the state, for instance. Right? And it monitors how the output from one sector becomes the input for another sector. So say you have a manufacturing business in your community, and they have individuals coming in to the airport for training opportunities. They go out and they spend their money eating dinner and at a hotel in the area. Well, their money has come through your airport. You brought those visitors in, and then they're spending their money as new input to supply income in the hospitality sectors. Right? So it's a model that's used to demonstrate a change in expenditures or changes in employment and how it affects the economy. So we look at 546 different industry categories, and each one of these industries, as I'll describe in a minute, has a different number, a different level of impact on the economy. So if we look at commercial service airports, for example, the airline industry have a bigger impact on the region than say the restaurant that's inside of the airport. So there are multiplying effects based on the industry. Okay, so we're looking at the direct impacts from the airport data that we acquire. That is the employment primarily of businesses that are at the airport, and also the impact of those visitors. Then the data goes into IMPLAN. It grabs a lot of these databases and information regarding revenue, compensation for those particular jobs, taxes in the area, and then there's a multiplier effect on the indirect and induced impacts. Right? So then it spits out this total economic outcome, the total economic impact based on jobs, wages, taxes, and output. And I know that this can get a little bit hairy in the detail. So if you have any questions at all, I'm always happy to discuss that with you. So let me give you an example of this input-output model, right? Say that your airport needs an air traffic control center or tower built. I know that a lot of the smaller GA airports are probably laughing at me right now, like, what is that air tower? But anyway, so we have the direct jobs that are supported by that tower getting built by engineers and architects and construction workers located doing their business at the airport. However, then there's employment that is supported by that building, that air tower off the campus or off the airport's location. So that might be the design and software firms that are located elsewhere, but they are certainly instrumental in that design of the tower. It might be the equipment and raw supply material suppliers that are sending in glass and concrete, et cetera. So then there's each one of these employees that go out again into their community, spending their earnings and having a multiplying effect into the community. All right, so now I'm going to circle back around to the template that I showed you. So each one of the airports receives their own one-page document here, and then at the end of the study, we combine everyone's data in order to generate the impact of all of the airports on the state. Okay. So we have, we're doing a little bit of a different task between phase 1 and phase 2. The first time around, we used Excel data sheets and asked participants to fill in information, and it got to be a little bit cumbersome. So now we have integrated all of the data into one online questionnaire, and we're going to grab data from the airport managers in coordination with the airport boards in their area to grab the data, and then also capturing data from businesses that are located at your airport and businesses that are supported by your airport. So a couple things to remember before you begin the questionnaire. Again, this data is based on calendar year 2022 data. That's January to December, not fiscal year. So for airport management, we're asking basic information about airport operations, like the number of based aircraft at your airport and different types of flights that took place. We're also going to ask you a little bit more detailed information about the businesses that are located on your premises, and ask you to provide us with contact information for those businesses so that we can reach out to them for them to participate in the study. And then also businesses that are reliant on your airport, that are off-site. We also want them to participate as well. So we're going to ask you for contact information about those businesses. So the next round of data that is collected as part of this questionnaire are from those businesses. So we're looking at on-site businesses, off-site businesses, or businesses that are reliant on the airport. And then also inclusive in that are military operations, because we know that at many smaller airports, military is located there, and they might have part-time or seasonal employees, and we want to be able to capture that. Okay. So after our meeting today, I am going to send out an email with a list of all the types of information that we recommend that you have on hand prior to engaging with this questionnaire. It'll just make things a lot easier, a lot smoother. I also have a one-page flyer that you can print out and either hand to people in your airport as they come through, or you can post around your airport in order to market this study and get everybody's participation, everybody's buy-in from those businesses or visitors that are coming through, because the better the participation, the happier I think you're going to be with the outcome, because we're able to really grasp the full range of the economic impact of your airport. Okay, so next I'm going to go through the questionnaire itself. We have a QR code that links to the survey, as well as the actual link. What we have found is that completing the survey is actually best done, especially for airport management, using the link on a larger screen rather than, say, a cell phone. It's just a little bit more challenging to see the information on a cell phone, even though we do have that QR code. So I'm going to link here, and hopefully this will bring up. Can you see the survey on your screen?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it should be there now.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go through this survey with you as if I am a member of airport management, and then if we have time, we can circle back around and answer the questions from a different perspective as an airport on-site business or an airport business user. Okay, so the beginning is a basic introduction to the survey, telling you why it's important, as well as getting your participation is voluntary. Okay, the writing on here is as if it's directed toward a business, but we also want you to think about your airport as a sort of a business that's supporting other businesses. My contact information as well as Mark's information is down at the bottom of the first screen. I also have it repeated later on. So if at any point, and I'm going to reiterate this over and over again, if you run into any issues at all, please feel free, pick up the phone, give me a call. I will get on the survey with you and we will fill it out together and I will answer your questions as best that I can. Okay, so we're going to go forward. The second page gives you a little bit of instruction about what the survey does. So as I mentioned, the survey is best viewed on a desktop computer or a mobile device that with a larger screen, like an iPad, for instance. The questions, some questions require a response. So if you look at the bottom of the page, it'll say this question requires a response. It's in red. You'll have to respond before you can move on to the next question. However, there are forward and back buttons at the bottom. And at the very top of the page, in the very top, you can see a blue bar with the percentage that shows your progress through the survey. So I'm going to click agree that I've read all of this information, that I've voluntarily participate, and then I'm 18 years old or older. Okay. First, we ask about the role at the airport, and you can choose all that apply. So, for instance, there might be someone who has business located at the firm and is also military. We might have members who are working together that are airport authority and an airport manager. We wanted to leave all of these different combinations available and not restrict who all might be applying or responding. Okay, so right now I'm going to move forward as if I am an airport manager. Okay, it does require a name and phone number. Email address is optional. So I'm going to put in my information. Then it asks you to choose the airport or airports where the business is affiliated. Please, if you're an airport manager, just choose your airport. So because, well, these are just airports that are in this phase. I don't have the airports from the first phase on here. So we're just going to click the first one here out of ease. Right. So in order to estimate the economic contribution, I think I've gone through this several times now, we need a complete list of all of the airports, including firms and government entities that are located on the airport's premises. That's 100% participation from every business that is located at the airport. We also need to gather information on the people who are employed there, both part-time and full-time in calendar year 2022. If you do not know the number of employees at those businesses, that's okay, as long as you provide us with contact information of somebody that we can reach out to at that business and we can gather that information. Okay. So here is an opportunity for you to list all the businesses and government entities or firms that are located at the airport, excuse me. All right, so the first round, it gives you 20 different options. If you have more, then you'll have an opportunity to enter more on another page. We asked for the type of business industry. This is important because if you type in name of business is Joe Corporation, I'm not going to have any idea what kind of industry that is. So, but if you say Joe Corporation and it's an air ambulance, then I will definitely be able to understand what that business is. If you could please provide a contact name and phone number or email for each one of those businesses located at the airports that we can reach out to those individuals, we would really appreciate it. Again, ask me if you have any more than 20 businesses to add. You can choose yes or no. So no, I'm not going to add any more at this point. Actually, I'm going to go back for 1 second here. So I'm going to type in and then the 859. Right. Just as an example here. I don't have any more businesses to put in. So I put in the business name. Now it's populating down here in the bottom about now an opportunity for you to provide information about the number of full-time employees that are located at that business, the number of part-time employees, and that is a part-time employee. We are calling anyone who works 20 hours or less a week. The number of contract employees that are located at the airport, as well as any seasonal employees that might be coming through based on the business that you entered. Okay. If you do have any part-time employees that work there, we're asking for the number of hours approximately that those employees work. If that does not apply, you can skip ahead. The same is true for seasonal employees. So we're looking to know if this is especially important for military. So we might have National Guard at an airport that is there for 3 months out of the year. So just a basic description of how often those employees are there. We'd really appreciate that. Again, if you don't have any of that information, you can move forward. So the first part of the survey asks about your tenants, the businesses that are located and doing business at the airport on the premises. Next, we're going to move to businesses that are off the campus of the airport, that are in the area or that are coming in and out for business purposes or leisure. For business purposes. And we're asking you to provide that information here. So we obtained a list of local businesses that are in the county of where the airport is located. So I chose Cynthiana Harrison County Airport, and the Economic Development Commission said within that county, here's a list of businesses in the county that they have in their database. This is to get you started thinking about businesses that might be supported by your airport. Right, so you can look through the list and say, oh yeah, we have members of this company coming through all the time for training, or the CEO needs to fly out for meetings, or they do come in maybe once or twice a year. So it could be often, it could be minimal, but we want to make sure that we're capturing everybody. So I'm going to click on through here and click on all the airports businesses that are coming in and out of our airport, but they are not located at my airport. Okay, you might not say any of these, you don't know, and that's okay. If you run into some challenges here, you're like, I really don't know. Again, you can reach out to me and we can talk about it. Okay. It might be none of those, but you might have other businesses that you say, no, those don't fit, but I've got some other businesses in my area that are using the airport, and then you can choose yes or no if that's the case. You can add those businesses here. Same as with the on-airport tenants, we're asking you to provide the name of the business, the type of industry. If you know it, we can also look it up as long as we have a contact name and contact number where we can reach out to those people. Okay. Again, you can add more than the number of slots that were allotted, but I'm not going to do that this time. So because this is data from management, we're asking for some basic operational information. First is on the number of based aircraft at the airport in 2022. Right, so this number at the bottom cannot equal 0. Right, so we were just gonna, for the sake of moving quickly here, I'm just gonna say, oh, we had one single engine plane at the airport. You can also put in your gliders and helicopters, military planes, ultralight, etc. The reason why we're asking this again is because we know that sometimes this information doesn't necessarily align with what is available in FAA data due to timing of data collection. The same is true for the types of operations that are taking place at the airport. So do you have commercial airplanes, operations, commuter, air taxis, local GA, itinerant GA, or military, right? So this number, again, cannot equal 0. If you have any issues with this at all, please give me a call. Okay, so again, we're going to move on and just using 1. As I mentioned in the introduction, I said that their operational expenditures can influence the economic impact of the airport, as well as construction, for instance, so and capital expenditure. So what we're asking for you to do is, if it's available, if you have it on hand, would really like to look at the operating budget so we can see what was going on during the year. All right, so you can drop the file here, you can email it to me later on. We also ask if you had any capital expenditures in 2022. If you do, then we may reach out to you to gather more information later on. We also ask if there are any specific annual or one-time events that drew a large number of travelers to the airport and the surrounding area. And because, for instance, you might have at your airport a one-time annual event, a bass pro tournament, right? And there are a lot of people coming in, but next year that tournament doesn't exist at your location and your area anymore. But that one event drew a lot of people into your airport. That's going to have an impact on our annual or biannual, however often we collect this data, information. So we want to know if there are any events that are outliers here. Okay, and this takes us to our last page. We want you to share any comments that you have about positive economic value at your airport, any challenges that you have at your airport, and then any other comments that you have either about this survey or additional information that you would like to share with our research team. This is a good area that if you encountered any challenges with the survey or information that just didn't seem to fit with the questions that we asked, you could put it here, or you could just tell us your story, right? Are there interesting stories that you'd like to share with us about what's taking place at your airport? And then that's it. So as you can see, I went at the very beginning from 0%, and then I completed it all the way to 100%. I have just a few more minutes here, and I'm hoping that you're sticking with me. I'm going to open this up for questions in just a minute, but one thing I do want to do before I do that is to go back through the survey just to give you a brief heads up of what your businesses are going to be asked. Okay. So let me close this out. I'm going to open it up again. Very quickly, we're going to go through this. Your airport tenants and business travelers are not going to have nearly as many questions as we're asking of the airport management. Okay. So here I'm going to put in that I am an on-site airport business or firm. Again, we're going to ask for basic information about the type of the business. I'm going to put in, choose an airport. So they chose Cynthiana Harrison County Airport again. We're going to ask them for the number of full-time employees at their airport for the business that they listed. So I said that I was with the Kentucky Transportation Center here. If I have more than one business, that information can be added on that introductory contact information page. We're looking for the number of part-time employees, contract employees, and seasonal employees. Again, oh, it's going to require me this time to fill this information out. Right. Do I have any other businesses at the airport? No, I don't. I just have just the one. All right. Again, it's asking how many part-time employees, if applicable, the number of seasonal employees, if applicable. And again, asking about positive value, economic value of the airport, challenges that they might see at the airport, and then any other stories that they would like to share. And that is the end. I am going to wrap up now, stop sharing my screen, and open this for questions. I went through a tremendous amount of information, but I really appreciate your attention today. And has it stopped sharing? I cannot tell. I'm sorry.
It did.
Okay, thank you. I understand there's a lot there.
I'd say, Gail, for the group, it's been a good detailed overview. I'd suggest that once you all receive the surveys, if you have questions, as Gail said, you can reach out to her you can call her or email her. Likewise, you can do that with either myself or Shelby or Brad at the department. We'd be happy to help answer questions as well. I do want to comment before we close that I really do think that you'll find this, or at least the output once you have it, to be very helpful. The reason I asked that we use the Danville page to show that to you is because I think that that's a community that has really used this data very effectively. They have the YouTube videos of the departures and arrivals from their airport playing in their city hall and the monitor in the lobby every day. Anytime they do a presentation to policymakers in their community or chambers of or their chamber of commerce or Rotary, they use that particular video as well as showing this economic study and the output there for the Danville Boyle County Stewart Powell Airport. They're not the only ones that are real effective with it, but they have been the most aggressive of all of them. And I think Rob Caldwell and the folks there at Danville would be happy to talk to any of you around how they've used it and give you ideas of how you might use it in your local community. So we're excited to get this done. I think we're able to use the phase 1 data and some extrapolations, obviously, with the legislature in our educational efforts this session, but this will benefit us well into the future. As you all know, that's seeking additional funding is a long game that you play. So it's not just this session, it's the 26 and 28, and for some of those sessions, some of us probably won't be around, but it's important to set the stage here and to put some discipline around this and process in so that we have this kind of data available to you to use to communicate the value of your airports. So with that, Gail, any final comments?
Yeah, I do. So like I said, after we complete our meeting today, I will send out 2 documents. One is a document that details each one of those areas of information that we recommend that you have on hand prior to starting the online questionnaire, as well as a one-page document that you can print out as a flyer to hang up in your airport or hand out to individuals as they come through. We would like to have data collection completed by March 21st. So that gives you just over a month, right? And I think that it'll be easier for you to do it sooner since it's top of mind that we're meeting now rather than later and it'll get lost. So that's why I want to send this out to you right away and then have you obtain the information that you need to complete the survey. Ask me any questions up front. Call me and we can complete it together.
Gail, just to clarify,
Yeah.
did you mean April 21st or March 21st?
March 21st. What did I say?
You said March.
Okay.
I just saw
Yeah.
something in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I was hoping for March too, because we'd like to get this really completed pretty quickly, giving you a month to do it. And then what happened in the first round is that we had a lot of follow-up phone calls that we had to make to businesses that were tenants or businesses that were in the area to try to capture that employment data from those businesses. So as long as you give us somebody that we can reach out to and a telephone number or an email contact, we will reach out to them and say, hey, we'd like your participation. We just need to know pretty much the number of employees that are impacted by your airport.
All right. Well, as I said, I know this is a hard forum to ask questions and you haven't been able to put your hands on the survey yet. So again, just encourage you as you start to look through it. Any questions, concerns, just give us a call and we'll work through them. And look forward to having a significant output for each of you for each of your airports.
Okay. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you all. And we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.